getting through different sessions, and so we give you little toys and stuff after you've completed different sessions. This is our way to keep you from just wandering off and going over and looking at the Mega Mall or something. But after the session, the first session today, we have your team toaster clipboards that you can pick up out in the hallway. And many of you have requested catalogs from the two major distributors of toaster-related products, which are American and Micropace. And so if you would like those, we have them across the hall. We have their latest catalogs that they always bring. So you're welcome to take one of those. So you'll be, walking the airport like this by the time we get through the day. Well, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. We leave nothing to chance here. So we got that. Now, for the rest, let's just go over quickly the schedule for today. We've got a presentation now, and again, you guys are really lucky because most people don't get this, but we've got the marketing department here today, some representatives from the marketing department. They're going to talk about some of the really cool new things that are going on. I'll do an intro for them in just a second. And this is the first time you've had this chance. They heard how knowledgeable this group was and wanted to come up here and hear about all this. So we'll do that in a second. Then a little shovel. Then after, we'll take a little break, and then we'll get the sales presentation, which, if you want to fill out your evaluation form for that right now, just check that box on the far left under outstanding or whatever, and you can get that done early. We'll have lunch about 12:15, 12:30, whatever, and then this afternoon we'll have our business meeting. And during the business meeting, what we try to accomplish is to give you a chance to ask every question that you have about NewTek, what we're doing, when the product's coming out, why don't you do this, blah, 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 blah. And that'll be our last session of the day this afternoon, and then the lab, I think, will be open until about 5 o'clock for those people that have later flights. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Danetta and Mark Porter. And Danetta heads up the marketing group and is responsible for putting on the shows and coming up with all the cool stuff and ideas and all that kind of stuff. And Porter runs what we call Porterville. Porter is responsible for all the logos, all the things that you see that represent NewTek in the marketplace, developing the box, developing all the different things. And they've got some information they want to share with you in terms of presenting you some things that are going on in marketing, telling you about some upcoming things, showing you some new pieces that they've developed. And then they also have a number of questions they want to ask you to kind of get your input in terms of what you think would be helpful for future developments and what kind of help you need to sell more video toasters. So I'll turn it over.
That kind of sums up where we're at with this and what we'd like to know. One of the things that we're wanting to find out is what you're doing in the way of advertising and marketing your store and the toaster and that kind of thing. What you've done historically and what your plans are, and how we can help you in the future to, quite honestly, get more bodies into the store so we can make more money. What we'd like to do first is to just go through some questions and kind of get an idea what it is that you're doing right now. How many of you, on a fairly regular basis, do newspaper advertising? Like half a dozen or so? How many of you do yellow pages?
Got to do yellow pages.
Got to do yellow pages. Well, okay, tell me about how you do yellow pages. You do? Oh, well, no, I know. It's got to have red in it. Absolutely.
We get the red. And it's got to be a whole page.
Oh, they are probably the best salespeople in advertising land. I mean, they come in and hit you hard. Do you do large ads? Is that?
Do you do anything to stand out? Do you even just put a box around it?
You do. Most all of you do display ads.
Yeah.
So, how much? I mean, I realize it would vary from market to market, but is a fairly large percentage of your ad budget going to that yellow page ad? Okay. Are you getting? Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes. There's
So you
different
have-
categories, obviously,
Yeah.
in yellow pages too, that you can be.
Right.
so-
Sure. So do you buy multiple categories, computer and video? And people come in looking for video toasters based on your yellow page ad?
Well, how many people include the video poster in the ad, I wonder? Or something about it?
Okay, so
How
not
many
all
say
of
you're an
them-
Amiga dealer mainly? How many say you're like a video dealer mainly? How many say you're a computer dealer?
How many say you're a desktop video dealer?
We include that as a line in our, as some of the things we do.
Right.
It's like we do, you know, because we still do business applications, we still do music, or we still do whatever whatever the Amiga can do. So those things are included within our, the body of our ad, but it's listed under computer dealing.
I spoke with someone at our Yellow Pages, as a matter of fact, one of the cities, their deadlines are coming up, so we're actually looking at them. And under video, they're looking at possibly putting a subsection for desktop video. That's kind of pushing that one.
Right.
And we're gonna probably do a display in that at least that one metropolitan book, this time, that one. So they'll give you a category if you kind of push it.
Now, those of you who run pretty good sized Yellow Page, I mean, they have a good portion of your budget going to that. Truthfully, how many people do you think you have come in on an average month off of that ad?
A lot of them that weren't already customers, so
So like you have 10 new people,
at least probably
10 to 20 new people a month based on your Yellow Page.
yes.
Would that hold pretty true for everybody?
More like 5 to 10 for me.
Yellow Page responses are almost always new customers too, so you're able to sell them new.
Well, those of you who've done newspaper advertising, how have you found that to work for you?
Do you do it steadily, or do you do it for a special event or an introduction or something like that, or?
Usually for us, it's a special event, or if we're having a show, something that's timely, in other words, not really a blitz, but something that is of importance now. During the holidays or peak periods, obviously, we would, as a consumer-oriented business, which we're moving away from, we would do things during the Christmas, Thanksgiving time frame, but that's becoming a thing in the past for us because it doesn't seem to matter. Yes, sometimes you get those sales. Usually January is a better month for me than December is now. People have started new budgets, new fiscal years, et cetera, business-wise, and they, if they haven't spent it at the end of the year, which usually they're not, so the businesses have already, that budget's gone. Maybe they'll find some extra dollars, but usually January ends up being a pretty good month for us.
Okay, Al?
I was gonna say, I think it's kind of like you got a three-pronged, you're either gonna sell Amigas or you're gonna sell video toasters, okay? There's kind of like a third category, which is a feeling we need to be more just general understanding video and maybe hold a seminar on understanding video, not mentioning that we're Amiga dealers, not mentioning that we're New Tech Video Toaster dealers, but just here is the new revolution in video, and talk about what's happening in video.
Right.
That the new literacy is happening, the low-end guys are coming in, and we can get into it for a very inexpensive price compared to 3 or 4 years ago, and use that as your hook to bring them in, get a group of people in a room, and then show them a toaster. And then tell them it's actually an Amiga, maybe.
Now, if you were going to do that, how would you promote it?
That would definitely have to be a newspaper, radio type of thing. The direct mail, which is the bulk of what we're doing now, is focused to existing videographers. And I think that there's a whole untapped market out there of wannabes
Right.
that we need to address.
You got a question?
It's been unclear to me exactly how we're allowed to use the video poster logo and clip art, whatever, in advertising.
That's one of the things that this meeting is the beginning of, is getting that cleared up for you. One of the things that we're planning on doing
Hopefully.
is... Yeah.
Hopefully. I'd be curious as to how, like you mean, we can talk about that later, but.
Yeah, because there are a lot of trademark issues and that kind of thing as well. But we want to put together basically like an ad manual so that you can go through and, okay, this is how you use
Co-op
this and
too,
where.
right?
Then let's talk co-op and market development.
Okay, well, that's the other thing that we want to get into is what you're looking for in the way of that kind of thing. So let's kind of run on down through here. So do we have any business any local, magazine type advertising? And how does that work?
It's been pretty good.
What kind of magazine is it?
There've been newspapers like Coast News and Microtimes.
Right.
Those are sort of regional
Sure.
area.
And those work pretty well for you? Better than a newspaper ad?
It's hard to tell. We use everything in combination. And we haven't done really very specific statistics of where it's coming from. Newspapers work better for commodity type items, not so much specialty products like that. It's more sophisticated. Trade journals, when you're going after that specific market, focuses better, work better for us. We've done just videos and things like that, and we get much better response. There's more cost difference, more pressure as well. We really find that it shows bring a lot of things.
Anybody do radio? Yeah, okay. How about, direct mail?
Just going back to your local papers, we find it's very effective. There's these little type of community newspapers, like This Week, Our Community, Variety, those type of things where you can run a paid advertisement and have either half a page or full page ad devoted to the activities that you're doing. We found that worked very good.
So that's like a local,
You can target the specific suburbs that you want to go into. You basically have editorial content over, it indicates that it's a paid advertisement, but you end up with photos and again, you can go into a lot of detail that you can't go into with any other format. It's relatively expensive.
but for the most part, the advertising that you've done has been not necessarily toaster advertising, but Amiga advertising, am I correct? Not in all cases.
More, we try to look at and point out what we can do.
What you can do for the customer.
That's right. Not, we'll list all kinds of various items that we have. And not just say, oh, this is for a Amiga dealer, so that's who we are. We'll talk about, editing capabilities, talking about the video, doing toaster. We'll come out with these goals to say, nobody's better, period. And, but we try to, because we found that if we get just specific with the computer, for example, there's a lot of other folks out there as well. If you do that, you find that those people are viewing that in a much more price conscious manner.
So you advertise to the customer's needs as opposed to just saying, this is what I carry.
That's right.
Because, of course, that's the business that we're in, is filling the needs of the customer. So, that makes great deal of sense. How about any TV advertising?
Lots.
Okay, how does that work for you? First off, what market are you in? What market? Where do you live?
And
Corpus Christi, okay. So now, is this like network or cable?
cable.
Cable,
So they do it all the time.
okay.
And I've got a really good relationship with cable. I've got free support, and free advertising.
Oh, bonus.
I use my commercials for filler.
Right, okay, so they run yours instead of running a public service announcement or something. So you just got a trade, so it's basically costing you nothing but your time.
Not very little time with that.
And it's making you some money, huh?
Did you create your spot on the toaster?
Yeah, we did.
Now, does the commercial talk about toaster or?
No, it's pretty much just.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. I mean, is that one of the reasons why you don't advertise toaster wars, because you don't have materials from us?
We don't know what we can do.
Not really
Don't know
sure
what you can do, okay.
And to do it, I mean, you really need to have logos and things like you mentioned earlier to
Sure.
make it, rather than just putting a type style in
Oh,
there that
exactly.
doesn't look.
Get us some ad selections and stuff.
But the
Sure.
We also want to be the same quality as the Revolution tape.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely, that's great, that's a good market.
Yeah, some, they're second-rate ads, being,
Be a good segue into the case.
okay, and then one of the other things that you mentioned was trade shows. How many of you do trade shows? Or, okay, lots of that. Now, is that just local, regional trade trade shows? Like business type shows? Do you promote the fact that you're there, or you just let the trade show promotion do its
We
magic?
do a little promoting the fact that we're doing a exhibit, particular vertical markets, like we'll do a law enforcement show, medical, and sports, and government out at the GSA shows. What we'd like to see is some sort of go out or support from y'all about how to either personnel to help support the shows as we identify them. There's a lot of times we wonderful laws that our advertising or virtual activities. Really things to help us. We use our advertising just as a contact with people we're already talking to.
Right.
Once we get them, our outside sales force starts answering the questions, servicing, and find out what that customer needs. So we just need ways to let more people know about the product and about us being the source for the product.
So, what would you say is the most effective of all the things that you tried? Trade shows.
Direct.
We found that best results have been literally from a dedicated, our own show. We'll go to a hotel, we'll do direct mail, radio, newspaper, and say, come down and see the new Revolution video. And those people are there specifically for us, they're not part of the trade
Right.
show, general project.
Now, when you, in the case of doing that, is that sort of, is that the kind of environment where you talk primarily about desktop video as a whole, or is it specifically a toaster related thing? Because you brought up the idea of doing just
At the present time, it's the Commodore video and video seminar, which of course we also introduced the toaster, but we have been using that, they have their own laser disc with a nice interactive seminar, all developed with a script, so that you can sit there and talk and get a button and go to the next segment and talk and get a button. And having that kind of work already done, so that we don't have to create it, we don't have time to create
Right.
those kinds of things. And, selling demos, we don't have the time to create the selling demos, we have to rely on Commodore to do it, or UTEC to do it. We need those tools prepared for us.
How often would you do something like that?
4 to 6 times a year.
I want to ask a question. When you're talking about trade shows, can you give me some examples of the type of trade shows you do? I mean, when I think of trade shows, I'm thinking Comdex, Macworlds.
Much
things
smaller.
like that.
Regional, yeah.
Right, but
We
tell
got
me,
the-
give me some feedback here. What is it?
Video Expo?
Even a
Video
local home show.
expos? Would you say video expos are probably one of the most common
No,
types of
it's
shows?
actually office product with computers. We'll be next to a cellular phone guy and over from that.
I also heard about education has
Yeah.
been one of them.
Education.
How about government shows or anything like that? Nothing?
They're primarily regional.
Nobody likes the government.
They got a lot of money to spend.
We just did a whole
Do our own in-house show.
You just did
Do
a
your
what?
own in-house.
Dealer show, or
Same
whatever.
thing, sure.
We
And
had,
invite all the people to come in, the government, the
Right.
educational people, the medical people, stuff like that.
Now, one thing that was mentioned was law enforcement shows. I mean, there's other special category shows that you do in the regions as well.
Just like the desktop video, we were image world shows. which
Right.
are specialized in that one.
Sure.
Law enforcement, there's LEBA and a few other associations that are just for those users. Those sort of markets, you get a lot of people that you normally contact.
Right.
And you're unique to us, because there's not that many people who have figured you out yet, but these people by video are showing up for it.
I hear from, I don't know how many I get in a week. Every organization that's gonna have a meeting and wants somebody to help them underwrite the cost of their meeting sends me a thing, about exhibiting it, and thing, for $100 I can have a table.
Could you donate a camcorder as a bill?
Sure, right,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I get everything from trial lawyers to, church groups, and it's just a constant flow, and it's
How many of those, do you do those, or do you?
very selectively. We've been in business 50 some odd years, and pretty well figured out which
Sure.
ones seem to work for us.
When you do them, what kind of response is there to the toaster?
Well, we're new to the toaster.
New to the
so,
toaster, okay.
haven't had that.
But the ones that you choose, on what basis
We
do
do
you
one
choose?
called Infotech that actually I think is a regional thing. It's a computer-based thing, and they do one in Omaha. our biggest market, and that, we've done that for about the last 4 or 5 years, and that's probably one of the best shows that we do. I'd love to have the toaster there the next time around, next spring.
On direct mail, you mentioned that that's one of the things that works best for you. Who is on your direct mail list? Is it primarily your customers that you've been working with over the years and compiling a list, or do you go out and buy lists that are, specific professional types, or where do you come up with your lists?
Combination. Wherever you can get them.
Pardon?
Any place you can get one. New Tech Leads.
New Tech Leads? Sure.
Trade show leads.
Trade show leads, okay.
All manufacturers leads, any kind of.
Right.
Amiga World
The Amiga World
list.
list? Okay. Have you ever gone and have any of you tried like getting like a list that would have various professionals in your market that were like graphic designers or architects and done anything like that? How's that work?
It works very well. We do that in conjunction with a exhibiting specific at the show where those people are drawings to. Another market, for example, is the sports market. In August, we purchased a list for Texas all our coaches who would buy this product. And in conjunction, we had our entire active customer list, let them know that we were exhibiting here and we were active in this marketplace. The RSVPs.
Again, now, is that something that talked specifically about Toaster or about the Amiga?
We're brand new to the toaster market
Okay.
ourselves today.
Well, what's the feeling in terms of just taking your advertising and focusing in some of these just strictly on the video toaster? Is it like
I do it.
everybody's
Very
close to that?
That's all that we do. Everything we do is toaster promotion.
Uh-huh. And how does that work for you?
Very well.
Are you using your Commodore Co-op for that?
It's a little touchy, that's a little bit touchy, but we are promoting toaster, desktop video. This is the solution, and we sell peripherals to help make the solution possible.
Right.
Total solution possible.
So again, it's the needs issue, but focusing on the video toaster as opposed to the Amiga.
Does the toaster get more response than the Amiga? In other words, if you focus on Amiga, is that worse than focusing on the toaster?
Well, it's appealing to a new customer.
We don't mention Amiga. we don't talk about Amiga. It's not. It doesn't never show up in an ad. It never shows up in writing. If they can read it on the computer and ask us about it, that's fine. But it's the video toaster, total solution, desktop video workstation.
How does everyone else feel about, excuse me, going that direction with their advertising and not talking about Amiga but talking about toaster? What's the downside? Is there a downside to that?
Nope, it's fine. It's fine doing it that way.
So everybody be cool with that, provided we tell you how you can use the toaster stuff and.
Sure.
It's what we would prefer.
Well, right now, yeah, but right now, as an old Amiga dealer, I'd say the toaster is still certainly less than 50% of my business. So I have to judge accordingly. That I'm still selling lots of 500s to schools, thousands of graphic artists, and whatever. You keep it in perspective, and the fact that the video toaster, today maybe 35% of my business. This time next year, maybe 65% of my business. That would still leave 35% Amiga.
Right.
I don't see that ever going away. As
Well-
long as Commodore's there, as long as I'm an Amiga dealer, I will probably remain an Amiga dealer. But again, split the store, isolate certain segments. We're looking at the edit suites, we're looking at the direction that we're going, and it's obviously this direction.
Well, if you increased advertising, let's say you divided up, you have your Amiga advertising that you do, and you have your video toaster advertising that you do, promote strictly the video toaster with that part of your budget, and hopefully what you do would be to just continue to increase your percentage of toaster sales, not decreasing
Right.
the amount you sell in terms of the Amiga.
I think you could have a separate campaign that's
Yes.
oriented towards desktop video and the toaster, kind of like what they did with this.
Right.
Right. Direct mail wise, and supplement that with other advertising.
We really try to target various segments of the market, because
Sure.
not everybody is a toaster user.
Right, sure.
And so, but when we go after that market, it does get exclusive.
Right.
Handle. So, our budget's broken up, based on the segment we're looking for.
Right.
Some get heavier dollars than
Sure,
others.
sure.
What are your strongest segments?
Toaster refrigerator.
What's the segment audience that you feel segment audiences that you go after? In other words, what's an example of an audience that you would go after?
Well, we've got we've done a lot to cable companies. We kind of focus on their reading materials.
Sure.
We've done a lot to smaller production houses. A lot of people, and from that, people who work within it are doing a lot of freelance. They'll come back from their own systems. There's a lot of word of mouth. Small videographers.
So cable companies, small videographers, what was the other?
There's some small production houses.
Small production houses.
Right.
And you target specifically those people and do advertising
Trying to get
directly
into
to
their
them.
reading material, their locations,
Right.
mailers,
And
things like that.
once you do that, you find that they start talking. Or the guy who uses video toaster at work is going, wow, this thing's inexpensive enough, I can buy one and have it at home and make more money on the side.
Exactly.
Quit this job.
And we've got, people from major television networks who've done that exactly.
Sure. And sometimes it works in the reverse. You sell the guy one to use at home because he's a video guy
Exactly
at
right.
channel whatever down the street, and the next thing you know, you're putting a bunch of units in for the TV station.
A lot of it's gonna depend on what we hear this afternoon, of course, the same problem has been there. Mail order, people pouring up the marketplace, how much emphasis are you gonna put on one product, that you're trying to sell for $24.95 or even $23.95, give them $100 break. But the guy down the road selling it for $21.50. And the mindset of the people are still there, and well, why should I buy from you when I can get a mailer? And even in your handout, you're still saying both based on your evaluation of warranty cards, better than 30% of the toasters are still being sold mail order. That crap's got to stop. That's the only way to it. I'm sure that's what the whole idea of the Premier Dealer Program. And I'm sure NewTek got inundated or has been inundated with phone calls from people that either bought it mail order or bought it from a week dealer or whatever. And that's probably a big source of a lot of headaches for you folks.
Of course, that's certainly one of the things to promote, is the fact that you have so much more to offer. Because when you buy a video toaster, you're making a commitment to a new industry, but learning that product, and there's a lot that a purchaser is going to rely on their dealer for that you can provide, whereas a mail order place cannot. And which you would want to promote in your advertising.
I mean, one thing that we really found is there is such a great demand for training, for any kind of backing, where people can come and get more knowledge of the toaster. And I think that is one way that you can just stop out the competition. Just say, look, we're gonna stand behind you, we're gonna offer you all of these things. Granted, you're still gonna have a percentage that's gonna go off and buy the card or buy whatever it is from mail order, but I still think it's by attracting that kind of customer, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna bring you back more and more and more people just from around.
Well, I think that right now it's still, they're doing us a favor by considering it. We have to turn that around and we're doing them a favor by
Showing it.
showing it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's essentially the mindset that has to be reversed, dealer to customer. You gotta make that switch.
It's a special product, and the fact that you carry it is it's a special thing, and we do a lot on our end to get people interested in the toaster. And I mean, the whole reason for that is to get them to find you all and say, wow, you're the guys that actually have this. This is great. Aren't you lucky? You had something, sir.
Backing up as far as the Amiga or toaster advertising, just new into the market, we've been selling some other products, and we wouldn't have been carrying Amiga, and so all of our video type of stuff will be strictly toaster. And I can see that as a solution to the aspect of something like that, where Apple
toaster is so easy to get anywhere. I mean, like I say, all the video people are selling it, the mail order.
Or whomever it does.
And by going into the dealerships like this and you have to be qualified to be a dealer, making it difficult to get is making the product more valuable. Right now, it looks like, well, anybody can go down to their corner drugstore and pick up a toaster, and that's pretty much the way it has been. And it's good that you got it out in the marketplace in that respect, but you do have to be, I think at this point, very careful and make sure that it is promoted as a professional unit and not something you can get it, like you said, the $7.
Plus, there's a lot of money to be made by the authorized dealers who have the other things that go with the toaster, all the accelerator boards, if you can offer TVCs and all that other stuff.
Sure.
So the guy buys his toaster mail order, and he saves $100, and he goes, I got a better deal, but then he's still gonna come to the other dealers and buy the other stuff,
Yeah.
all the accessories. And that's where the money's made anyway.
A lot of the dime stores still carry the TVC.
Yeah.
And they'll still underbid you on those too.
Yeah.
Without training. They'll go out and buy a videotape and say, I'm almost set now. Cost me $45.
Is that happening a lot?
It's happening an awful lot. Frustration. Way too much.
Through the distribution network, we don't have anybody
A lot of this discussion should happen this afternoon with George and Reed. So let's get back to marketing.
Sure.
What you're going to do for everybody.
You wanna see a song and dance, one.
What?
You wanna see
You wanna see a song and dance?
Yeah.
Let's see, oh, the other thing I wanna know was, do you have budgets established and what are they based on in terms of ad dollars?
We're like New Tech, we don't have an ad budget. That's what he told us last night.
You don't have an ad budget?
We do what's right.
What?
We do what's right when it feels right. You know, but a lot of it, and certainly for the Amiga dealers, is based on our co-op accrual, Commodore, and that type of thing.
Now, if I based it on that, I wouldn't.
You based it on?
If I based it on go-up accrual with Commodore, I wouldn't do any advertising.
Well, okay, let's talk.
Same here. Yeah,
Because the accrual amounts are so small?
exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so they've made
Then
it
you apply
difficult.
for them and you wait.
Okay.
Then you wait. Then you wait some more.
Okay, so in the way of co-op, what you're dealing with now then is small accrual amounts, and it's difficult to use. And what, are there, like, when you say difficult to use, is it difficult to get reimbursed? Is it difficult, are there criteria?
Yeah, the process.
Okay. And do they just credit your account? Is that how it works when they
It depends.
reimburse you?
Credit memo.
Credit memo, okay. And then, it's a percentage of sales?
Yeah, 2%, 3%. We'll take 3.
What?
We like 3, we're used to about 2.5%.
Uh-huh.
With what? Panasonic? Okay, I don't know. We're in a computer dealer, not a video dealer.
And so what they do then is they just credit, they're just giving you a credit based on your advertising. Do you have to send it in for prior approval and all of that stuff?
Sometimes, some things are pre-approved. They give us a list, Commodore does
Okay. So most of you use your co-op or don't?
Sure.
More than use it. I mean, in other words, I send
sure.
more in than I have available, and they just give me whatever I have that's there. If you don't do it that way, at least you stay ahead of the game. Because like I said, invariably, you're gonna use more co-op dollars than you have.
Yeah.
So, but you don't plan an advertising budget based on percentage of sales or anything like that?
Not really.
You do? Okay.
But
But, sure, I was gonna say, I mean, are you making your ad dollars accountable? I mean, are you saying, I just spent $1,000 and I have to sell X number of whatever it is I was promoting in order to get that money back?
Our company does that, but it's not a fixed budget. But certain campaigns that will do, you know, the return on that is measured
Sure.
pretty carefully.
Sure.
And they're looking for that. And if not, then the next time it's difficult to get your ideas to it.
Or you change strategies, try a different media or whatever. But
there's a regular, we have a regular baseline for a lot of that local type media that we're doing.
Right.
But when it comes to the bigger items like shows and other special events, then we do carefully look at it. If we're gonna spend, 10 or 15,000 on the show,
Right.
we have to do certain things to make this happen.
Sure.
And, I'm sure that becomes important.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, let's see, you wanna talk about, do you have any questions for us? I mean, we're not going
No,
anywhere.
no, let's
so-
not do that yet.
Oh, let's not do that yet. Okay, let's
Show some examples of what we are doing for you and what we have plans for doing for you. You have to understand that we are just gearing up to support the dealer network. We have not done a lot in the past. We are now, this is a high priority at NewTek to give you as much support materials as we can. We readily admit that we haven't given you a lot up to this time, and even right here, we aren't going to give you, you know, everything you want. We want to hear what you most want from us, but we'll tell you about a few things that we're doing. First thing is an authorized dealer sticker for the video toaster, which I don't have a copy of. It's an 8x8 colorful sticker that can go in your window or wherever you'd like, and those will probably be printed and done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that's something we've heard, you know, at least give us that, you know. So we're doing that. We have, the next thing we have are video toaster posters, which, toaster posters. These are just hot off the press. You'll each get one today. They're trying to get you tubes to take back on the plane so you don't get them all dinged up. And these are going to be available if you need some, you know, let us know. These make a great display. Just frame it or put it on the wall above your toaster. You've immediately got a toaster area then. You know, I've looked at a lot of photos of dealers where I see computers right next to a bunch of other computers, right bunch to another, you know, and it's just a wall of equipment. There's nothing distinguishing the toaster from other products and such. This will really help with that.
And we will have tubes for you to bring those home with later today.
Another thing we've done on a corporate level is what we call a PR kit. Comes in, we're sending 2 tapes in a carton like this. These will go to newspaper editors, magazine editors. This is kind of a press kit to talk about the toaster. Inside will be a folder that will have clippings and press releases and black and white photographs that they could use to put together articles on the toaster, possibly a brochure that will have the people that use the toaster and love the toaster, like Ron Thornton, and what he uses it for, and all this. So these are flexible and they can be used in many different ways.
Will they have a listing of the dealers in their area that could possibly help them or let them see more about it or something of that nature? Or
Can we insert material into
Well, this is.
Well, this isn't something you'll have.
Yeah.
This is something NewTek's
Right, this is
marketing
part
department
of
is
the,
sending.
part of our press information. One thing on that is that our intention is to get as much ink as we possibly can, everywhere we possibly can. And we have people available to support you in that effort. There's a woman at NewTek, her name's Christina Knighton, and she lives for stories. And you can call her if you have a toaster that's installed in a unique place, if there are interesting things going on in your market, if you have a trade show or something special that you're doing, we will do everything we can on our end in terms of PR to promote that and get local press on it. And that works great. I mean, hey, it's free advertising. You know, if we can get you talked about in your local paper and, you know, that you've got this great new product and what's going on with it, and if you have an event coming up or something like that, we are there to help you with that as well. So it doesn't have to be an event. It can be, you know, if you've got a school, we've had stories that have been about, you know, school districts that have got the toaster in place, you know, on the front page of you know, the you know, city section of the paper and it talks about the dealer, where they got the equipment and how they, you know, set it up and all that kind of thing. So that's another thing that we, you know, will help you do, and in fact, we'll, you know, can send out kits of that nature with that sort of information to your local editors. So, I mean, we're there for you on that count too, because that's certainly a large part of what we do in our department.
Yeah, let us know if there's a newspaper guy that you know that's really has an inkling of what the toaster is, and if they need more information from corporate NewTek to send it to them, or, you know, call us up and call up Christina and we'll get you, we'll do the best we can do, you know, as far as getting you information.
You know, also, if you've got local talk shows that, you know, or something that you think we should be on, let us know. Because we will do what we can to help you in that effort.
As I mentioned, when we were talking last night, that I don't feel that the current video toaster brochure nails well. It's hard to fit into.
The original design for it was never intended to be sent out as a mass mailing. It was intended to go to SIGGRAPH was the first show that brochure appeared at, which is a very design-oriented show. It was a very slick brochure that was printed for that show, and once, you know, NewTek saw it, they thought, well, this is great. You know, it breaks down things into the inserts, and that's a great way to update it and such. I understand that, and I think, you know, within the next 6 months, we'll be designing another brochure that'll hopefully meet, you know, better standards as far as mailing them out. We'll be doing national advertising. Hopefully you see these ads in magazines. This is the newest ad. Right now we're having a survey, a marketing survey done to find out, you know, what our market is, and hopefully we can get you results on that survey. But our next ad will be based on those survey results. But this is the current ad that's running, and we feel it's a pretty effective ad. Look at these ads and give us comments on them too if they're not doing something that they need to be doing.
Is it possible to get copies similar to what you have there for display purposes as well?
Sure, we can work on that. Sure. That's not very easy to do. Another thing is the Revolution tapes. Obviously, we've heard yesterday that tapes are really big sellers. Is everybody getting tapes? Is everybody?
No.
Okay.
No.
Frustrations with getting them?
Yep.
From, we heard American
American and Micropace.
Micropace?
They don't
Yeah,
have.
they won't do, you know, you ask for them, and they, oh gee, we don't have any, or they have to.
We'll allocate the next batch to you, is what class.
When you have those tapes, you're getting, I mean, that's a very effective
Well,
sales
it's a
tool for
warm
you.
copy. I mean, you can take the tape, they can
Sure.
see what they're gonna, they come in to see a demonstration, you show them the demonstration, if you give them something to take home, it's a warm copy that they can look at again.
How many people who come in your stores already have seen the tape or have it?
A lot.
Good
A lot.
portion.
Yeah.
Good portion.
Majority, 80%.
Okay. So, many people have it, but it's still something that you wanna have for.
Some of them, a friend has told them about it, or
Sure.
they've seen it at a friend's house.
Interesting that you bring that up. The category that's growing the fastest on our list of where the leads are coming from in terms of the tapes is friends. Yeah.
And, I mean, even the professionals do associate
Oh,
with
you
each
bet.
other.
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
That type of.
You
thing.
bet.
So
No, there's no-
by friends, I don't necessarily mean,
No, I understand what you mean.
Associates is more.
We found that the tapes find their way to the people that they need to go to.
Another thing we do is trade show appearances, which we have a list up here that you can grab when you leave of the trade shows we're going to. Some coming up are SIGGRAPH, which is next week, Macworld in Boston, Video Expo in Long Beach, California, Video Expo in New York, Comdex in Las Vegas, and Video Expo in Atlanta.
The date on Atlanta's wrong, it's the week prior to this.
What is
They have December 15th
And
through
it's the
7th.
week prior to that.
That's in it more.
Yes, it is Image World. It used to be Video Expo, we can't get that out of our head, we'd rather they left it Video Expo, so.
Some of the things we'd like to do for you is do a guide of newspaper advertising. In other words, show you sample layouts of ads, tell you how to lay them out as best we can, give you some rough guidelines, give you some pointers as to how to make your ads stand out in a newspaper. These are all things that we'd like to hand you a little booklet and say, here's everything you need to put an ad together. Here's black and white photographs. Here's line art. Here's logos. And I'm hoping that they are handing you logos at this, you know, that they've handed you logos, or they're going to be in a packet somehow. So if you don't get those, let us know, because from what I've seen in the brochures, I've seen, you know, logo sheets in there.
What about giving it to us on disk for use in the desktop publishing program?
We can give you black and white on disc, line art.
Yeah.
We aren't set up to distribute tons of these things, though. We have a department of 3 in the graphic design department, and so we'll certainly put that down as something we can do. We've had requests for that. As far as color imagery, we could probably supply some color transparencies or things like that if you're going to that extent.
What about having that black and white on a BBS so that we can log on and
Log on.
download it there?
Okay. I think we can do it. I see. I don't know if there are new tech.
I'm sure New Tech BBS already systems.
I
Are you,
don't know. We need to be
Can you
wrapping
speed up?
are you working on 30 and 60-second spots with trailers?
We have a TV spot that we did for Wolf's Camera in Topeka, and this is, we went to a local Topeka store and we said they wanted to do a special toaster event, and they said, New Tech, can you help us out? Can you work with us? And we came up with a newspaper ad. There's photos supposed to be in that box of Kiki with a workstation. We did a direct mail campaign using their list that they had already accumulated. And then we did the sample TV spot, which we actually ran in Topeka. And we did radio spots.
How did it turn out?
Turned out great.
They had, in a day and a half, they had between 250 and 300 people show up for toaster demos.
They say this controls you. Now it's time for you to control it. The Video Toaster puts the power of a TV studio in your hands.
By Tony Sutterheim at New Tech and
I want
great
that.
job.
How do we get one?
That was just sort of a test run that we did. We're doing a little bit more research first before they're gonna get anything, just to find out how.
That's a nice teaser, but I think you need more substance.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Well,
The thing about it is, the idea behind the campaign was to get people
into the store.
into the store.
You can't expect your advertising to do everything for you. All it's got to do is get people curious, get them introduced to the product, get them in your door. The point of this is to get people in your door. I've looked through a lot of ads. They've sent me a lot of ads from a lot of dealers out there, and my one criticism would be, don't try to do everything in your ad. Don't list every feature that's in there. The toaster is a huge product. It does a lot of things. Try to think of it in terms of a concept. You know, don't think of it in terms of it does all these things. Think of it, this is desktop video. This does everything, not everything, but it does a lot that'll help you do this. So this ad is a teaser. It is a teaser, it is a short teaser.
30 seconds.
Was that 30?
Yeah.
Seems short.
Yeah.
It's eye-catching. You know, you go, what's that? You know, what are they talking about? You know,
How many
but that's
of
the
you,
point.
would it be realistic for you to do television advertising?
Starting with
Cost?
cable.
We're gonna do
Okay.
it.
How much interest would there be would it be possible, or how would you feel about, in a market that's expensive in terms of buying advertising on television, pooling your resources, having multiple dealers pool resources like car dealers do, where it would be tagged with a number of different dealers?
Nope. Nope. No way.
That won't work.
I won't do it.
Commodore offers it. I've never seen anybody in our area.
Yeah, I'm basically the only significant dealer in the
Yeah,
area.
you're the only one in your area, but there's no, that's what I was trying to find, you know, I mean, the car dealers do it, I mean, it's a high-ticket item, and you can go to whatever location is nearest to you, but that's not the kind of thing that you feel like would work in this area.
You're talking about doing that to support you.
It'll just bring up my competition.
Support national advertising?
I'm sorry?
Is that idea to support national advertising?
National would be good. 1-800 number and they refer them down to you. That would be that at all.
So you're talking, I mean, I guess that's what I was asking, was that idea to support national advertising, cooperative?
Oh, the idea to, well, you know, at this point, we have not made any determination about doing a national television campaign. It's something that we've kicked around, and it will happen, I don't know when. But I think you will see us doing more national stuff and more even mass media stuff in the future.
What time is it?
It's
Okay.
Up here, you'll find a list of awards that NewTek has gotten from their graphics and videos and everything that we've done. We've got trade show appearances. We've got a NewTek advertising schedule for our national ads and magazines. We've got these booklets, which are basically a compilation of a lot of articles that were written about the toaster, and they've been laid out in a special way, so you can grab these, grab a poster.
Mark, and we can maybe, don't take the posters right now. Let us put them in the mailing tubes for you. We'll get them to you this afternoon so that they don't get damaged before you get them in the tubes.
Right.
You can go up and take a look at it. Let them.
And I'll check on the logos. Now, you were talking about you having trouble with logo, how to use it. Do you at this point have logo sheets? Does anybody have logo sheets at this point? Okay. We have the Circle Video Toaster logo. We have the NewTek logo, line art, and there, we printed up a ton of them, and I don't know.
I got that and all that other material I have up there, except the posters from the NewTek graphic design that is in store.
Well, they had told me that you're supposed to get a packet here that has a lot of that in it, so.
Is that right, Jay? You have logos and stuff in
No, we have not handed out stat sheets or anything like that.
Okay, that's something we'll definitely have to get going.
We just go ahead and scan your logo.
You just scan our logo and put it in.
You just, put it like in yellow, like whoever does that one.
Well, we really wish we would have had that about 3 weeks ago. We spent a day with your poster, making a poster, doing your poster for a show. I mean, it's almost exactly the same size.
Is this one square?
No. Square?
No, it's rectangular.
Rectangular.
Rectangular. We did the poster in the frame shop, came back and said, you know that one side goes down just a little bit?
This poster?
No, we did our own.
Oh, did your own,
Yeah, we
okay.
did our own.
Okay.
We took the
One
logo.
thing about these posters, we'll give you posters for your store. This is part of a merchandising campaign that we're doing that you may have seen advertised on the back of Video Toaster User. So these are the posters that are for sale through that campaign.
So they're not just going to be handed
Yeah,
out
yeah,
like
so
crazy.
they're-
Obviously, you guys will get them because you're the dealers, but these will be sold for around $10 through ads. And also, we have 2 T-shirt designs that we're selling. One with the Video Toaster logo on a white T-shirt, and one with the Circle Video Toaster logo on a black T-shirt. Those will be available for, I would say, special promotions, say door prizes and things like that, or but they aren't going to be just handed out to everybody. We're checking into that. What we'd basically like to do, the end result of all this, is that we would like to hand you a catalog and say, here are all the items available. We're looking into furniture, a special piece of furniture that you can display your video toaster on. I think we're talking to a minimum of 2 manufacturers right now. One of them is already designing a special desk.
Yeah, Winstead's. So, and it's
for the
got
toaster.
A director's chair
multiple
would be
bays.
that would be really
A director's chair with the toaster logo on it.
to sit at your demo station.
Sure.
But obviously, we're just getting going on this stuff. We would love to be legendary in what we supply you and what we make available to you is a high priority right now at NewTek, and we need your input as far as what you guys, what helps you sell the toasters best. Obviously tapes do, and we're trying to come up with new tape ideas. But that's what we're trying to do.
Any feedback you have for us, any ideas that come up between now and then, let your rep in your area know, or call someone in tech sales, or call someone in our office.
I just want to clarify, is NewTek going to get rid of mail order?
That's an
afternoon. Yeah, that's
this afternoon.
I can't answer that.
This afternoon, you can do that. Okay, let's take a break for about 10 minutes.
I think, but, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone back? How many people were here at the last thing and aren't here now? Okay. All right, just to start off, did everyone get all the materials? Everyone get them? Did you get the stuff? Everyone got the magazines, the list of awards for New Tech, the trade show appearances, and the ads?
I haven't picked them up yet.
Okay, if you haven't got those, be sure to pick them up after the meeting here. Okay. What we're going to talk to now is a presentation called Selling to Your Customers. And it's gone so badly in the past that I thought I'd bring Mark Randall from New Tech in to help me with it this time.
Oh, they'll be a lot better now.
And if you want to turn to day 4 in your agenda, you can kind of see what we're going to talk about. I'll kind of go through the agenda before we start it. But here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about who's buying the toaster. We're going to talk a little bit about the sales cycle for the toaster. How long does it actually take from the time you first meet a prospect until they decide whether they're going to buy? We're going to talk a very little bit about the Rule of 7 exercise. I think most of that we covered in the marketing part, but I'm just going to talk to you about a concept related to all the marketing things we just talked about. But we'll just go through that briefly. Then we're going to talk about how to do a demo. And the part that I cover is stuff about qualifying the customer, preparing for the demo facility, and closing. I have a very, very strong feeling about closing. We all sometimes talk about, well, how do you handle objections on the toaster? My favorite way to handle the objection is to ask for the order. No, this will never work. Oh, good. Well, do you want to buy one? As a way to find out what they're really worried about. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and you'll get a real heavy dose of closing, because I find more than anything else that's something we lack, particularly the Amiga side. Well, I don't know if I can ask for the order. So we're going to talk about that. And then at that point, Mark's going to come in, and Mark's going to talk about how to do a selling demo. So I'm going to talk about some of the background, and you're going to help me with all these things, because I really don't know much about any of this. But I'm going to talk about the background stuff, and Mark's going to come in and give some tips that he's had in terms of how to actually do that demo. We saw from Kiki the other day catching the excitement and some of the things about how you get people excited and some of the ways to show them. Mark's going to talk more about the selling demo. So that's a new section. Again, you guys are so lucky to get all this stuff brand new. But that's a new section we're going to get here. And as part of that, either before or after that, we're going to talk about common toaster objections and how to handle them. This has been a fascinating thing. When we first started this 7-8 months ago doing these New Tech U's, boy, there were all kinds of objections up there. People were wondering about all kinds of things. We did the last one, and it was like, I mean, someone doesn't want to buy a toaster, they just got to be crazy, because there is no objection that we've been able to find. And if you can think of one, we'd love to hear it. That can't be answered very simply to help people understand. We're going to talk about the concept of installation, service, and training. As we said a little bit on Monday when Reed and I were talking, it is really possible to make really great margins on toaster sales. And again, our whole emphasis, the sales emphasis, our whole emphasis here is to help you guys make money. Because we realize you've got to make money to get excited about the toaster, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here. And so that's why we're here. Yeah, bah. So we're going to talk a little bit about installation, service, and training and some of the profit opportunities there. And we want to get a reading from you guys as to how much you're taking advantage of those profit opportunities. And then the final thing is just we're going to go through some sales support material and talk about Video Toaster User. I did a dumb list of my top 10 magazines, and you probably have your own top 10, but you know, you can kind of check it and make sure you're not missing any of them. We're going to talk about quotes for toaster systems, compatible products, training tapes, a checklist for training, talk about user groups a little bit, and the awards, trade show appearances, and media review are already up here, and we've already mentioned get your catalogs across the hall. So, we've got 4 hours for this, and we'll cram it into an hour and a half. So why don't we get started by talking about the warranty card analysis. And there is a page in your book that has New Tech warranty card analysis. And if you'll turn to that, it's right past the agenda for the sales presentation. And we're just going to talk briefly about what people are buying the toaster for and what formats they're using and some of that, just to give you an idea so that you can see if that compares to what's happening in your store. Why did people buy it? Well, they bought it for the post-production editing. That's interesting since we don't do that, but that's not on the card anymore. But the digital video effects was the first thing that they're looking for. Character generator third, 3D animation fourth, and the still stores fifth. This is important only from the point of view of in setting up your demo, if you have some idea why most people are buying the toaster. And we'll talk more about the demo, but being sure that you are meeting people's needs for what they're interested in and not just jumping into what you're interested in. You may be interested in Lightwave and they may not ever want to use Lightwave. Make sure you don't start your demo with Lightwave. And who's buying the toaster in descending order? This says corporate video, graphics arts, school education, event videography. Here's the thing I think I mentioned before, but what I've seen, mostly from Alpha and the hundreds of toasters they've sold, but schools are the #1 marketplace. About 30% of the sales are going to schools. And we'll talk about that right in the next segment when we get into the sales cycle. The second thing has been the independent videographer entrepreneur. Over half of the sales that Alpha Video has made of video toasters are to people that Alpha has never sold anything to before. And the third area then would be the videographer, the current guy in production and whatnot, and the fourth would be corporate. One of the things that we've seen at Alpha is about 60% of the quotes for video toaster systems are going out to the corporate world, but it's still only 15 to 20% of the sales. Although the quotes are there, it still is not the majority of the sales. I think that bodes very well, by the way, to have that many quotes out that have not turned into sales. But they still have not got it. This is a key thing, next one. I own or plan to purchase. You know, I've heard a number of people saying, well, I don't know if I should bet the company on a video toaster. I mean, I can only get 9% on, or 12% on the toaster sale because, Joe's Pizza House is selling them too, and they're that, and I got to meet them in order to get the bid and blah, 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 blah. Well, the key is you got to sell complete systems. The toaster should probably be no more than 15 to 20% of your average sale. At Alpha, the average sale is $18,000 to $22,000 when it includes a toaster. The average toaster is $8,000 to $10,000. And if you look at this thing here, look at the other products people are either currently owning or plan to purchase. 44% with a single frame controller. 69% a TVC, either own one or are going to purchase one. And then an additional 36% with a tape deck with a TVC. 30% removable hard drive. 46% AV roll editing system. Accelerators, 53% have accelerators. Now we've seen that is about 80% are putting an accelerator into their machine at Alpha.
Your numbers are completely different than ours.
Right, what I'm doing is I'm combining the own or plan to purchase. Most people did not have an accelerator in their basement when they bought a video toaster. I say, okay, we'll take the toaster, and we'll take the accelerator, and we'll take a TVC, and we'll take all these other things. What I'm trying to show you here is if you're only selling $4,000 or $5,000 video toaster systems, you're really missing the boat. And that the potential here is to take it to $18,000, $25,000, $30,000 on a system. One of the amazing things that I'm seeing is that Alpha Video is one of the leading M2 dealers in the country. When you've been to Alpha, you know where Alpha's concentration is. Every M2 deck is sold with a toaster. They come in, they say, well, geez, I saw those 1960s. Oh, the 7750, yeah, that looks, oh, M2, well, yeah, okay, throw one of them, You get them into the whole thing, and they see that they can build a whole edit suite that really is cool, and they want the top quality deck, so they end up buying M2. And then you're talking a $60,000 or an $80,000 kind of a sale. And oftentimes, they can buy the decks and some of the other stuff other place, but they'll buy the whole system because they know Alpha knows how to take care of them in all parts of it and carries all equipment. So, these things, I think these numbers are just phenomenal in terms of what the potential is for additional sales above your toaster. And that's how you're gonna make money. And that's the message I want to get to you. You gotta make a lot of money on this. Because then you'll be happy campers and you'll be loyal to NewTek, and that's what we want. And what format are people using? Clearly, and I say clearly for a reason, it is an SVHS format. I mean, that is the main use of the video toaster. Now, it's, you know, you look at it and say, well, wait, that's only a few percentage points in front of these others. But you can assume most of the SVHS stuff is new sales, because SVHS is a newer format. VHS, everybody ends up putting it out to VHS, so you know you're going to see VHS in there. And the 3/4 inch, the assumption there that I'm making is that most of those are in existing systems. I mean, how many gazillion 3/4 inch systems out there? But one thing to know about that is, you know, you got to have a lot of information about 3/4 inch if you're selling the toaster, so you can help people work the toaster into their existing systems. And then, you know, high 8 and whatnot. I think that kind of reflects where high 8 millimeters going. We don't see it going very much right now. It just doesn't seem to be the complete. It's fine for acquisition, but it does not seem to be the complete system. I guess there's new stuff coming out. There's always new stuff coming out that's going to make it that, but I haven't seen it yet. And then where do you purchase? According to this, and this is, you know, getting kind of old now, but it was about 30% from mail order and 70% from a dealer. And we'd like to see that more from dealers. And I think at the time this was taken, is the reason so much of it was mail order was that the dealers didn't have any more knowledge than the mail order people in terms of how to help people. And so they go for the cheapest price. And we'll talk about that when we get into sales and service. And then here's what people read at this time. And this was, again, a little bit old, but Amiga World, AV Video, Videography, Video Systems. I think you're all pretty familiar with those magazines. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the sales cycle, and I'm going to set this up here. And what I'd like you to do is break into groups like we did a little bit yesterday, which is you guys kind of turn around and two tables together. And I want you to talk about this one question. What is the average time it takes for you to make a video toaster sale from the time you first get the prospect, however you get them, all the things we talked about with Danetta and Mark, you know, all those kinds of things. But from the time you first get a prospect until you make the sale, what is the average time for a video toaster sale? Average sales time. Time you first reach them till they make the sale. So we'll spend 2 or 3 minutes, turn around and just talk about that amongst yourselves.
I think it's less.
Okay. Why don't we just start here and you guys can give me what I just drew some categories. Maybe those aren't good. If they're not, we'll change them. But what would different people say? We'll just kind of go around the table.
You know, it really does depend a lot on who we're dealing with. Some people come in and turn it right away, but in general, those that you actually have to prospect is sort of, we wind up spending, you know, across maybe a couple week period.
So a week to a month, maybe.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours, just on the phone after having a demo. The demo may take a half hour, give or take a little bit. But one of the premier things we try to do is qualify them as a worker. We don't just start shows.
So from first prospect until purchase of...
It's a lapse time, 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
That's on a cold call, you know, a cold prospect.
All right. What would you guys say?
That's basically with our consensus as a group.
Okay.
Now, the ones that walk in the store, generally, it's, you know, somebody who comes
Okay,
in the
average
store
though.
and says,
Average you would say
about a month.
Okay, how about you guys?
Well, there's such a wide market out there. There's
Right.
people that you may wait 6 months to a year on because they've got to go back into their corporate facility and get their budget fixed up and get their capital set aside and all of that.
Yep.
That's a long waiting period. Where there are other people walking off the street and know what they want, they buy it within a week.
So what would you say the average for?
Gee.
We'd like to qualify 1 week to a month for corporate, 1 to 3 months for government.
Okay. Did you want to give a date? One of these categories here. Average.
I'd say 3 to 6 months.
Okay, fine. How about the next group? We'll just kind of go around. Just shout it out.
Categorizing in those categories there, I guess a week to a month.
Okay. What else? Bill, do you have a thought on what you guys are doing?
We've got a ton of quotes out right now, and ours are probably taking 3 months plus for
Okay.
most of them.
Okay.
1 to 3.
Okay.
1 to 3.
All right.
The majority of mine have been a week to a month.
Okay. Some other people back there?
Depends on the customer base. If the walk-ins, then
So average, you wanna give me an average?
90 days
Okay.
plus.
All right. Others?
I've had people walk in and lay their money down right off the bat.
Sure.
They know exactly what they're gonna buy.
Yep. I'm just looking for averages. I know that they're all over the place. Okay?
So you said the category 2.
Okay?
1 to 3?
Yeah?
1 to 3.
Okay? Okay, so just finish up here.
Week to month.
Week to month? Yeah? Yeah?
Not yet.
Okay? Okay. This is kind of where it comes out in every one of these sessions. And I'm going to tell you all that you're all wrong. I'm going to tell you that if you are really in this category, and maybe if you're in this category, you're missing probably 75% of the potential sales out there. The video toaster, from the first time you meet someone until the sale, is going to average 6 months plus. It's going to average 6 months plus. Now, obviously, there are going to be people that are coming in, but I'll tell you, over time, those people are going to become less and less because they've heard about the toaster, they've gotten the revolution, blah, 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 blah. The sales that we need to be making right now are the ones where we need to be concentrating on customers that we have a pretty damn good idea are not going to come in for 6 to 9 months. Your average school, unless you just happen to hit the sales cycle perfectly, is going to be at least 6 months because their budgets only come once a year. So a lot of those are going to be 12 months. Your average corporation is going to have a budget process they have to go through to get approved, to move this, ba-da-ba-da, and that could be, you could be out of luck and be as much as 18 months there. And the other thing that I feel about this whole thing is, if we're seeing these sales at this period here, we are not doing the proper follow-up. Because what's happening is we are taking those people that are coming to us and we're turning them into sales. We are not working to continue to get that flow of sales and taking that long-term view of, yes, it is going to take 6 months or a year for this sale to come in. Because they are. Everything that I've ever seen done, when we go back to the Alpha thing, the first Alpha video toaster show, I don't think generated more than 2 or 3 sales until the spring. You know, there were a couple people that just plopped their money down, but they'd really already bought. And it was the people we heard there that started to buy in the spring, but we got a whole bunch of sales out of them in the summer and the fall. The message here is we've got to look long-term at these sales. We've got to look at making sure that we are doing everything possible to follow up, to stay on the sale, to make the sale. The interesting thing I heard here is the people that said here were all video dealers that are all used to the longer sales cycle. And the message I'm giving to the rest of you is you're losing a ton of sales, which kind of leads into the next thing, which is, well, what do I do to make sure I'm going to get that sale? What are the steps? What are the things where I can tell whether this prospect is ever going to buy? And I have something that I've looked at for years that has worked very well in terms of being able to tell if a prospect is ever going to buy. And I call it the rule of 7. And what that really means is you have to reach a potential prospect 7 times before you know whether they're a customer for your product. And I would bet a lot of the people that are up in here are not doing that. Well, they came in for a demo. I gave them a demo and a quote, and he never bought. I invited them to my show with a mailer. I never called them. What are some of the things that we can do to make sure we reach this rule of 7? What are the things that we are doing so we know whether that prospect is ever going to buy? Why don't we just take a minute and go back into your groups and talk about, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we did a good job of this in the marketing part. Obviously we talked about it. There's direct mail, there's newspaper ads, and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, those things don't just work for bringing new customers in, but they work for getting that person that has a quote from you, and they see an ad and they say, well, these guys are for real. Or from somebody that's just bought from you saying, maybe I should buy something else from these guys. It's the same idea. If you buy a new car and all of a sudden everybody has that car, You see them all over the place and you notice the advertising twice as much, or you're looking at that car and it seems like they're everywhere. Oh geez, I'm looking at a Caravan. I just saw 50 more Caravan ads, and it seems like everybody in the world drives a Caravan. You know, it's that kind of thing. Well, let's just talk for a minute in your groups again. What are some of the things you're doing from taking that initial prospect to making sure it's a sale? Okay, let's just spend like 3 or 4 minutes back in your groups, do a little brainstorming on that, we'll come back on that.
Here's my answer, no organized plan.
I have an answer for it. I'm going to help you right then and there.
Come to it.
Okay, obviously we talked about some of these. Newspaper, magazines, direct mail, and TV, radio. Now, a lot of these are going to be to get them into your shop or whatever, but they're also going to be part of the Rule of 7. If they've gotten Revolution, oh yeah, put that down.
That's a new concept.
Yeah, how's that? You know, so, but if they're going to see it somewhere, what are some other things that are other Rule of 7 things that are going to learn, that are going to lead you to deciding whether this person is ever going to buy?
User group.
User group, right. So how would you do that? How would you use a user group?
They're great for feedback. Sharing ideas.
Right, but how do you even know whether they're going to, okay, yeah, geez, I'm interested in a toaster, buy. Now, what do you mean user group?
Well, our user group has what they call special interest group. One is video and one is TV. And I don't understand why, but one actually goes out to a cable access studio, produces a show on the Amiga, where the other one is more professional videographers trying to produce videos.
Okay, my question about user group though is how's that going to make them more likely to buy from you? You host it.
Yeah, sponsor one.
You sponsor one. You invite them to it. It's the reaching out. Say, I know you were in the shop last week, and a guy gave you this quote, and I thought maybe you'd like to attend the user group before you purchase. I mean, just my point is here, just having a users group, and everyone comes. That's not going to make them buy from you. It might make them buy a toaster. But it's the concept of proactive, something you're doing. Yes, I call them and invite them to the user group. That's the second thing. That's the second thing in the Rule of 7 that you've done. Okay, what are some other things that you do more than just, hi, how are you? You've got a lead. That's the first thing. What else are you doing?
Lead tracking.
How are you selling yourself?
Building confidence.
Yeah, building confidence that we can do the job, that they're, fill their needs, help them fill their needs.
Okay, so that done through a demo?
By guaranteeing, service, telling them that we have service capabilities, that we have after sales support, training, explaining what they get whenever they buy this product from us.
Okay, I assume that you're going to do that. What I'm interested in is what are the steps? What are 7 steps, and there's probably 50 of them that you could do, that's going to make you find out whether they're going to buy from you? Where are you selling yourself? How are you doing it? In a demo. Okay, so another rule of something is a demo. What else do you do with form?
And we follow up and talk to them on the phone. They come in for that demo.
Testimonial.
Okay, let's just stop here for a second. And how do you follow up? Okay, a phone call. And how do you know when to call or who to call or how to do that?
Yeah, we haven't any real hard and fast rule. We just, if they've been sitting out there for a week, 10 days, we'll touch base with them just to see if there's anything we can do.
How many people do follow-up phone calls on every quote?
Several times.
Well, okay, he says how many people would like to, why aren't you?
5.
And what?
Other duties that you have within the company.
Okay.
You know, I'm not just a salesman, I have other duties that preclude me from doing that. There are certain times that I could do that. We were talking about setting up like a suspense folder where you actually just go back through when you have the free time, you get back those people. You can even do it in a timely fashion, every, a month down the road, 2 weeks down the road. It really depends on how you fill the customer out, and whether he gives you a hint as to how long it's going to be.
So your company is just there to serve the community?
That's about the way it works. It's not my choice, trust me.
What do you get? What do the rest of you think of that? He doesn't have time to call people back.
Make time.
That's easier.
Wait, now he's saying it's easier said than done to make time. There is no time.
If you're a boss, it's a lot easier to make time, or if you're a head salesman and that's your only position, if you were hired to do 6 different things and they've given you 4 more things since then, yes, you can make time, but it's going to cut back in your other duties, and your performance in those other areas is going to drop back, and they're going to notice that.
Yes.
That's
What he
why
should do is probably talk to his boss and see, what is my position here? Where am I going to be more effective, selling or doing these other duties? What's going to bring in more income?
We are addressing that, and down the road, we intend to separate from that, but at this point in time, there's just no way to do that. We're too short-staffed. We have 5 people in our company, only 4 of them are active on the clock at any given time, and one of those is an outside salesman.
Yeah.
All banks require officer calls. It's required. I mean, I was in a banking situation about a month ago, and I was talking to one of the officers, and he told me if they didn't make the officer call and report, they were reviewed, and they have staff that reviews all this. And if they continue to do that, they were replaced. I mean, the importance was not going there, but it was a contact these people had with the bank. A personal contact. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. I'm not picking on you, but here's the whole point we're trying to say about you got to commit. You got to just say, look, I can't be everything to everybody. I can't be the best dealer that sells games, and the best dealer that sells Amiga 500s, and the best dealer that sells IBM clones. You got to say, where's the best future potential for my company? Now, we're here saying very clearly, we believe that the best potential for your company is getting behind desktop video and the video toaster. I think there's a ton of money to make in it. But you can't do it if you're doing 10 other things. Now, I've seen it a million times of people that are selling games and other things. And somebody comes in and can eat up an hour or an hour and a half of your time. And what the best sale you're ever going to get out of them is $150 worth of games marked up at 15% because they also brought the ad from Creative Equipment and showed you what they can get it there for. We call those customers from hell. And we basically don't treat them anymore. I'm sorry, we're not good at games. If you want games, go someplace else. What we do is desktop video. If you're interested in desktop video, we can help you. And what I find is the people that don't have time, in the majority of cases, are the people that do not have priorities, that are trying to do everything for everybody. And if you can narrow your focus, you'll be amazed at how much more time you have. And the economics, we'll talk about quotes and some other things, but the economics are there to justify spending the time in that way. And I think anybody that is not taking the time to follow up on a quote on a video toaster system either ought to be out of the business or ought to have their head examined. Because people won't buy. They think you're not interested then. And they'll go to the dealer that is interested and does spend the time. Yeah.
I think it takes a lot less time if you put all the people that you get the quotes on a database. So
Yes.
if you have it done in half an hour,
Yep.
just pull all the ones that you
Yep.
talk to.
I think everybody keeps saying when you have time or if you make time, you have to schedule that time. Like you
Yep.
schedule an appointment that
Yep.
from 1 to 3, I'm not taking calls, I'm making calls, and I'm going back to my tickler file.
Yep.
That's sales. I mean,
If you're the only person covering the floor, you can't do that.
Well,
You
again.
can't do that. In rather weak defense, you can't do that. If you're running the entire operation, I agree exactly with what George's saying. But my company does not want to make that commitment at this point in time because they've already got a business, just like he's got, well-founded. Okay, he's probably got more employees, so maybe he can deal with it a different way. At this point in time, I may be there from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and maybe the only person on the floor for an entire day. Okay, my day is taken up by people buying ribbons, people buying minor, minuscule things.
Then,
and they may want to talk for an
then
hour.
you got to look at it from the point of view of business. We're here to make money. What's your average margin and average sale on a toaster, and how many can you sell over what period of time of desktop video? Versus what's your average margin on a ribbon and a Shadow of the Beast game and these other things? That's all we're
Margins
saying.
are actually higher on those objects, but the money is not.
Well,
make 40% on a game, and you usually make about.
I'm
40%
only
on a
saying,
ribbon, so.
look at it, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can make more money on margins and all that stuff. Then don't try to do everything or whatever. But the people that don't commit fully to it won't be video toaster dealers in another year. They're just going to go away because there's going to be other people that'll get into it, that'll put the energy, that are going to be behind it, and they're the ones that are going to be successful. Yeah.
One thing that I do to address the time problem is I try and make all my salespeople, have like a first up, second up, third up, so that if they're first up, then they grab the phones and they take care of people walking in. If they're second or third, that's their day to go out and call, make appointments, get on the phone, that kind of thing.
And I also try and meet with them, if not once a day, at least once a week, and try and allot time where I'll meet with them and talk about the leads. I'll see, you know, where do we need to follow up with phone calls, with a quote, with another demo to the boss, or that kind of thing. So I try and allot time. You know, people say, well, there's no time. Well, you have to try and allot it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I found that I tried doing that, and then what I found out was that salespeople have their own comfort zone, and it basically boiled down to where two of the guys are now Amiga sales, and they'll deal with anybody that walks in. Myself and one other guy are specific desktop video.
Good.
And we do, you know, we very rarely greet anybody on the floor. We're specifically there to focus on that one thing.
That's the kind of thing.
And we sell, you know, in 3 days what 2 guys can't sell in a week off the floor.
Right.
You know, it's just, again, economics.
Yep, good. Yeah, Rich.
We just found out the best way to handle our problem was because we've got 5 video salespeople. We just turned around and hired one guy exclusively for Video Toaster. That's his desktop publishing. He's a trainer. We also put on subcontract someone else that is much better with high-end stuff, which goes way beyond the toaster and getting into other programs.
Good. Let's talk about some more of the things you do. Okay, so what else are you going to do now to find out if this prospect is going to turn into a sale? You've called him. He's got a quote. You've followed up. What else can you do? Yeah.
You can send them a thank you letter for coming into the store and choosing us as their dealer.
Yeah. Thank you letter. I think you said testimonials earlier. What do you mean testimonial? What would that be?
Word of mouth. That's
Pardon?
your, well, the guy up the street's got one that you know, the Joneses effect.
Yeah.
Keep up with the Joneses. But like you're doing with the tape, with the,
yeah, the tape.
The name drop.
Yep.
I assume we've qualified this.
We'll talk about that in just a second. Yes, we're assuming that. The other thing that there's probably never been a product that's presented you with a better opportunity to do this than the Video Toaster, which is press releases. Oh, by the way, I thought maybe you'd like to see the latest Time, Rolling Stone, NBC report, blah, 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 that was done on the toaster. And you just send it out to them. You can send it to all the customers that you have quotes on. You see? It's form letters. Yeah, absolutely. A newsletter that goes out. A lot of people have the newsletter kind of concept. A show that you've got, that you're planning, and invite them to that show. And make sure that somebody greets them when they come. New products. New products. Oh, by the way, I just wanted you to know there's 85 new products that came out with the Video Toaster. This time I want to talk about Video Toaster User as a sales tool. A phenomenal sales tool. An absolutely phenomenal sales tool. I think it's the major thing that's happened with the Video Toaster in the last year. Because what it says is toaster as platform. You're not going to see a magazine develop around Malox or around any of those other products. I guarantee it. Matrox, I'm sorry I got that wrong. What this says is that there is an industry building around the toaster. That all these other companies are building products to work with the Video Toaster. It takes away this whole fear of it's not IBM. You know, nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. You know, for those kind of people, you can say, you know, I know you had some questions about the toaster, but I thought maybe you'd like to see this 150-page magazine of articles on the toaster and other products on the toaster, and my advertisement for my dealers in there, by the way. You know, and a lot of people do that, little ads on the side, you know, because I'm one of the leading blah, blah, blah guys. But it just says legitimate. And to just send that to people and say, hey, I just thought you'd like to see the next issue or the latest issue of this and all the new products. And remember, you talked about blah, blah, blah that you wanted to do. Well, guess what? Now there's a better way for you even to do it. So, I'll kind of, yeah.
To give you an idea of how that actually works, we had someone come in that was worried about the SVHS situation, and we told them over and over that it was going to be fine.
Right.
When I showed her it in print in one of these magazines,
yeah.
It was there in print.
Yeah.
I pointed it right out to her.
Right.
That was all it took.
She walked
the system.
Right.
Because it did. It legitimized what we were saying.
Good. Well, I'll leave you with just one thought. Of all this stuff, the key thing that you can do is just do something. So many times we wait. Well, I'm just going to wait for that next article to come out, or next week I'll get more organized, or 2 weeks from now I'll set this up. Damn it, just pick up the phone and call someone. Just write some copy for a letter. Just book a room and invite some people in there. Do something. That's the key to the whole thing. Don't wait for the new tech stuff to come before you do it. You know, don't wait until the skies are bluer or the grass is greener. It ain't never going to happen. The real winners are those people that just go out and do something. Okay? All right. Now let's move on to the demo. We had a good lead from Debbie to get into this section and talk about the demo. And what I'd like you to do, and I won't make you do this more than a dozen more times, but I'd like you to go back into your groups and talk about what do you do to qualify a customer. What are the things you do to qualify a customer? And here's the point I'm going to make that I'll debate, or you can debate with me, which is most of us do not do a proper job of qualifying the customer before we get into a demo situation. Now, you could all be different. You can tell me about how you're different. But let's just spend a couple minutes again. What do you do qualifying a customer? Okay, we'll take a couple minutes back into the groups and talk about that. Because I think this group gets it more than some of the other ones I have. What do you need to do to qualify a customer? Ask questions. Boy, I just love to hear that as the first word out of someone's mouth. How many times have you been in a sales situation where you go up and introduce yourself to the guy and he starts talking, or the gal and they start talking? I'll tell you, it's the biggest turnoff in the world. So good, we got that. Is absolutely the first thing you have to have in your mind. Ask questions, don't make statements. Okay, now what questions are you asking?
You a buyer or a
What's your interest in the product?
What are their needs? What are the
Okay, let's write something down here. And I'll tell you, I bet you know most of those customers from hell without even asking any questions. Hi, you a Steve? Okay, so what's your budget? Okay, we'll just write them down, then we'll come back to them. What's your budget?
Yeah.
What are some others?
What do you need?
Yeah, what do you want to do?
What's the application?
Have you seen the Revolution case?
What's the app?
What equipment do you have now?
Okay, keep shooting.
How soon do you think you'll be buying?
Time frame, yeah.
Okay.
Are you the decision maker?
Do you need help with, do you need financing help?
You need help out to the car with that.
What color?
How many kids do you have? Personal
Yeah?
information.
Yeah?
Where did you go to school?
Yeah. You do that though, after you find out if they're worth it.
What made them come into your store? How did they find out about it?
Yeah.
That's a good one. That way you know from advertising.
Yeah, and then you know what pays off. I think implementing a customer referral program.
You also need to know if there's a decision maker.
Small amount of money.
Got that up there.
Who writes the charge? Yeah, who writes the charge?
How about, why do you think you need one?
Okay.
How much rooms left on your piece of it?
For your personal use or business use? Like a gift wrap.
Now, be honest. How many people ask these questions before they get into the demo?
Not all the time. Let me find out real quick, don't pertain.
Okay.
The first three. Can't hear back here.
Well, what he was just saying was that allowing people to talk is the key, and listening intently.
90-10 rule.
Right. I would just go back to what do you think are the two or three most important ones here that you want to get to at some place in the conversation?
What's their application?
What's your application and what's your budget? And time frame.
Right.
Okay, all right. And I guess the thing I would want to say then, what if you start getting some, well, I'm just looking, well, you know, we've got a budget next year that we're going to be putting this in, but boy, I would really like to learn more about the toaster. How do you handle that?
Training classes.
Take a card and then call them back later as the time gets closer, or follow up
He
with.
says give them a demo.
I wouldn't.
Okay, that's where I think we make some mistakes. Oh, you can't make the decision and you don't really have a budget. Well, sure, I'll give you a demo anyway. Is there another way
Time
to
wasted.
turn that more to your favor?
You say when we're having a show, or we're gonna be having a show in 3 or 6 months, how about if I send you an invitation to that?
Okay.
Have you look at that?
short demo, not a real demo.
Okay, so how would
What
you do that?
Show them the revolution.
What you do though
Show
is
them the tape.
I just start the tape and walk
How do you
away.
keep a demo at short though? Once you get
Demo
into it,
to
it's such a great
close.
product.
demo to close. Ask him, I will do a demo for you, and if after I show you this will do everything that you want to do, are we ready to do business?
Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I'm just looking for the company.
Then don't do a demo. Show them the tape.
You can't put
You
that
give them
on
the
a
tape
box,
and
but you
the
can do a short, very short demo. One-
But how do you make a? I have not seen anybody that, you know, they all want an hour and a half, and oh, sure, short demo will be great.
Yeah, really go to.
Charge them money.
Show 'em the
Charge them
equipment.
money, consultation time.
Show them the equipment and tell them about it, what it'll do.
I think I.
So when you get
Give
ready,
them a
let's
tape
get
and
back
tell them to
into it
return
and
the
get
tape.
into the depths of it.
How about something like this? I have 20 minutes right now, but I've got another appointment in 20 minutes, but I can give you a quick 20-minute demo and hold the 20 minutes. Or what we found is, say, you know, we have once a week on Tuesday nights, we have group demos that we give. And I think the best thing maybe in your case would be if you come to our Tuesday night session. So kind of stack them all up there rather than having them interrupt your day. Or who does make the decision on this? You know, I'd love to give you a demo, but let's make it worthwhile. Why don't you come back with, you know, your superior, the person that can make this decision, and we'll do this demo together. But I caution you, and I think this is a tremendous waste of time. And it eats up time to say, oh, fine, yeah, I'll just kind of give you a short thing. And, oh, wait, now, geez, I just, yeah, character generator's great, but, you know, I changed my mind. Switcher's really what I'm interested in. Can't you show me how to do that jet airplane with light wave? And all of a sudden you look up and you go, oh, God, it's lunch. So, you know, these are absolutely, I'm delighted. This is the best group that's come up with these kinds of questions. You've got to get at these. And it's a gutsy kind of thing, because sometimes it's uncomfortable. There's one more uncomfortable one that most people never ask, but you need to get better at, which is, if I can meet your needs in my dealership, will you buy from me? Or, you know, do you have to go out to bid on this? You damn well better ask that. Because we've all had our blood sucked dry from these suckers that then end up buying from a box house someplace. And if they say, no, I have to go out to bid, then you say, well, is there a way we can write the bid so that, you know, it'll come our way? I mean, would you like to work with us? Yeah, Bill.
Well, one of the things we've done, we do a lot of big presentation systems, and one of the things we've done, we started charging a design fee. Somebody wants us to charge, or wants us to design a whole presentation system at, $60,000 or $80,000. We'll be glad to do it. We'll charge you a design fee, and we'll put it in writing that if you buy from us, we will credit you the full amount of that design fee, and that takes care of the box house.
As opposed to a consulting sounds like kind of cold.
I think that's a great
Because
idea.
I've used that approach too, and I've told people, well, yeah, it's not like you need a consultant to figure out what you want if it's going to happen this way. So I think design fee is a little smoother term.
Okay. If you'll turn a couple more pages in the stuff I've got here, I've got some stuff that I copied from a Commodore seminar by the IDK group. I'm just going to go through it real briefly, and then we'll get into Mark's part here. But it's called Demo Presentation and Selling Demo. And Mark will talk about this in different segments, but the basic concept is for each part you're demoing, tell them what they're going to see, demonstrate it, tell them what they saw, and close for agreement. And then the next page, it's got some pre-demo checklist things. And I think we all can learn a little bit on this, but make sure you've got the time. Make sure that if they're coming in for a demo, you've got a proposal prepared. You have a good idea on what they want to buy. Make sure that this whole thing of will they buy from you if it meets their criteria, make sure that your demo room is prepared and ready to go. How many times, well, I left at 5 and I had all the still stores on there that I wanted. You come in the next morning and someone has unplugged it and borrowed the VCR for a user group they had that night and not plugged it back in. But you don't get in till 2 minutes before 9, your demo's at 9. You got to prepare for your demo, you got to be ready to do it. You also have to have a separate area for the demo, and I'll let Mark talk more about that, but I just got to make that point. You can't demo a video toaster next to Shadow of the Beast. You just can't do it, and you can't do it in an open room. You got to have a separate room if you really want an effective demo. So, you know, this is stuff that you can look at, but just make sure you've got your other materials there. If they've shown interest in other products, have the literature for those other products available. If you think they're going to kind of wonder whether the toaster is really with it, have all the articles or copies of articles that have come out, and have that stuff prepared. Don't just think you can go in and wing it, because that's what it's going to look like. And I think we wing so damn many of these things. In particular, we're not getting to the corporate buyer, because they're used to blue suits from IBM. And they think this product's a joke because we're not professional. So, with that, let me turn it over to Mark, who's going to talk a little bit about the actual selling demo itself and go through some examples.
Okay, I'm going to pass. Put this pile up. Just grab one and pass one down here. This is a new section that we're working on. So this is our prototype run. Basically, we're looking for a lot of information from you about what actually works in a demo when you want to sell. I need one of those. Give me one of those. Wait a minute. Wrote this. Go ahead. Okay. George has covered a lot of really valuable information here. Qualifying people, very important. Let me just cover a couple of things that you need to know, in particular qualifying when you're going to get into the demo. You need to know their technical level. Obviously, you don't want to bore them with stuff they don't know, but really try to understand, because sometimes people can come in and they want to look like they know a lot, you know. So let's probe a little bit and really find out where they're at. Don't want to talk down, don't lead us, and don't want to confuse them. And obviously the area of interest he talked about here, what are you going to start doing with first? And then, of course, the preset materials. We're going to send them home with some stuff, maybe Toaster User magazines, and other things. Obviously, we did. Demo area, as George just said, you know, cannot have other, you know, game playing or anything else happening in that area. The other thing is, toaster demos are exciting. I'm sure the ones you do are exciting. You're going to draw a crowd no matter what you do with a toaster demo happening, toaster magic happening on the screen. People are going to want to come over, but you don't want people to come over right now. You want to deal with this person one-on-one. So I'm going to make a suggestion to you. I went to Bismart. I don't know if you guys have that in your area. It's a big office product supply store. They are all over the country. They will ship anywhere you want. There's an 800 number you can call. I'm going to get it for you before we're done with this session. I have it. I left it back in my room in the catalog. They have dividers, freestanding, nice gray, classy-looking wall dividers, about this high with little legs, $77. They'll ship anywhere for you. Call them and get dividers. If you don't have a separate area now, you're going to make a room. Obviously, after seeing Alpha, you're probably going to set up some separate rooms and other things, but today, let's invest in a couple of these dividers and partition off your toaster area. So you have a private area where other people aren't going to come in and go, wow, cool. That's my natural reaction. Wow, hey, how do you do that? What is this? You know, it's like, geez. So you need to have some privacy in your area if you don't have that now. Okay, actually getting into the demo. First thing, most important, is eye contact. You want to be looking at them, first of all, so they know that you care. Second of all, so you know where they're looking on your demo system. One of the reasons that I'm teaching this is I teach new tech people how to do trade show demos. We've been doing, one of the guys who's doing demos the longest since when toasters were bad prototypes. You had to crawl underneath the curtain table and tweak, you know, with the open machine to get the thing to work. And so in the bad old days, you know, we did a lot of demos for people. They didn't know what a toaster was. There's no awareness of the product at all. We had to explain the whole thing. So first of all, you need to know where they're looking. You know, with all demos, I'm going to get into this in a second is you want to know which monitor they're looking at. One thing I noticed at trade shows, doing demos, people are coming up and like, hi, want to see a toaster? Yeah, okay. When we start out real simple, toaster can do dissolves and things, and they're looking at the interface monitor, looking at the T-bar go up and down. Yeah. Okay, and then he's over here, but they're picking a new effect. Now he's looking at the monitor, nothing's happening. And it goes back and forth like one of these comedy tennis matches, but they're not following the ball. Every time this happens. So you've got to know where they're looking, wait for them to catch up. So, and it's just, I mean, I bring it up as kind of a funny thing, but it literally happens every time when we do a demo like this. I don't know what it is. They're always looking at the wrong monitor. But, okay, so eye contact, very important. Let's start by explaining the big concept of toaster. Now, George and I started talking about this during the session. Got in a little argument. You know, because I come from sort of a marketing background, George's sales background here. He said, find out what they want. If they just want the toaster to do keying, they just want to do one keying thing. Bring the guy in. Here's the key. You want to buy it? You know, that's George. My thing is, and that's valid. You know, I want a keyer. Okay, it's keying. Where's the check? You know, that's, you know, is that what you want? Let's buy it. And that is valid in some situations, but toaster. The magic of toaster is the big concept. What is toaster? It's a new kind of product category. It's not it's one thing that you have to sort of, this is not something to tell people, but the way to think about toaster is you could take a Grass Valley 300, an Abacus A52 still store, a Quantel paint box, Harry. Let's throw all this stuff into one system, put it on their desktop. Okay, I'm going to give you all this equipment. You can sell it to people. Total cost for every one of these things, normally $1.2 million added up. Sell it to them for $1,000, $995. How many people are you going to get to buy it? Not many more than are buying that equipment right now because it's hard to use. It's all this different equipment. You got to learn all this stuff about hooking it up. You need other kinds of equipment to hook into it. One of the most powerful things about the toaster is not that it's all that equipment put together, is that this interface is sort of a big concept. So you need to have a big concept sentence. The one that I use when I sit down and say, what is a toaster? Toaster is each of the black boxes that a high-end broadcast television studio has that a video maker like you and I don't have, that makes our video look different from real television. And that's why I tell somebody who's an event videographer or something like that, what is the toaster? Each of those black boxes but rolled into one interface, one product, one thing, where one guy can sit down and use it, operate it, and make television that looks like real broadcast television. Never existed before, first time ever. Video toaster. And then we get into it. So it's like, what are we going to see here? It's all these different things rolled into one. So is it 9 different programs? No. The toaster is like, actually this is something I stole from somebody else. I heard him doing a demo. And I lift a lot of things for people. Is like, what are some of the best features about the paint program? And one of the best features of the paint program is the character generator. One of the best features of the 3D system is the paint program. And one of the best features of the switcher is Chrome Effects. They all work together. It's the magic thing. So you want them to come out with that gestalt, the power of the toaster. All these things are more than the sum of the parts. So you got to have that big concept sentence before we get into it. Then you want to know what they're interested in, what area they're going into. They want to buy a CG. Let's start by demoing what they want to see. Now, no matter what they're interested in, let's say it's a very unusual situation, you're going to do a basic kind of switcher demo. This is the main central station of the toaster. You're going to explain that to them. What I do when I start out doing the switcher is, let's turn off the preview monitor. I don't, because you know, when you start doing stuff, you stand back from a demo and just look at people start doing effects and things, you see the preview monitor cutting. And then you see the effects happening on the program monitor. They're going to look into these 3 monitors and they're going crazy, trying to figure out what's going on. Turn the preview monitor off. Let's sit down. I say, this is a video toaster interface. It looks just like, you know, I always start, I'm going to do the demo as if I'm demoing to my mom. Okay? Now, if you're demoing to a local network broadcast facility guy, may not use exactly this verbiage, but you know, demoing for your mom is a great way to get good at demoing. And you know, and she always wants to know, what are you into now, son? Anyway, technology stuff. What are you making in your life? So, do a toaster demo for your mom. Let's say this is a video switcher, just like you've probably seen on TV when they have those big boards. The guys sit out with all the lights on it and the big lever, and they pull the lever. This is that lever, but it's all on a computer screen, so you have to pay all the money for the backlit button. So right away, saves you cost. Then I point at the T-bar, I select dissolve here, I point at the T-bar, I move the pointer with my hand, my finger is literally on the screen right here, the way you see it now, and I pull the T-bar down. I say, now see, I'm pulling the T-bar down, just like the guys do in the broadcast studio. Look what's happening over here. with my hand. The dissolve is happening. I'm still doing it. See the dissolve from one source to another. See? Pull this thing up and down, and the dissolve happens, because so many people miss that. One of the classic jokes of new tech trade shows is you demo to a guy at a show, he's incredibly excited. Wow, this is really great. You've been with him 25 minutes. He says, can it do a dissolve? Peter, am I right here? This is
You're absolutely right. It's like, how many times have I been really excited about showing off the latest cool new effect? Going, wow, look at this, the split, break glass, and pouring water. The guy goes, yeah, is it so hard to do a dissolve? I mean, I think you would have put one of those.
Yes, absolutely. So, anyway, moving along quickly here. We have to start basic and speed up quickly, so get them up to speed. So, then I go click on a wipe effect, and I usually start out on the grid where we have the wipes. I'm on the dissolve, I click on wipe. We can also do a little bit more advanced effect, which is the wipe. And Tim's line here is really good. Any $10,000 switcher worth its salt can do a wipe like this. And then we usually come back here and do some simple tumbles. Now the really tricky stuff that would normally cost you $30,000, $40,000 is these tumbles. Those are called digital video effects, and that's remapping the video in real time. And that's the horsepower that's in the Toaster's custom chips. So I showed him that, and then I start getting into organic effects. I'm basically doing what we call running the grids here. At this point, what I'll start doing is like double-clicking the effects, or click, spacebar, click, spacebar, click, spacebar. Go through and show them a bunch of eye candy effects real quick. Now they understand what you're doing over here on the interface. They don't need to look at that. They'll be looking at your program out. And they'll be seeing all the magic happening. It's called eye candy. Lots of eye candy happening. And they will get excited. Now, when they get bored, stop. I mean, just show them as much as they want to see of these effects, because you can really go crazy. I mean, I love about 90 of the effects that are in there. I have to show them every time in the demo.
That's a good point, because the person is just looking at their toaster or concentrating on their stuff and is not looking at the customer, is not going to pick up where the customer's at. And if you allow your enthusiasm and blah, blah, blah to do a 40-minute switcher effect, switcher demo, and they only have 40 minutes, and they really want to buy it for the character generator, you've just screwed yourself. So that's why your comment about look at your customer,
right,
and figure out where they're at.
And it's happened to me. I'm demoing for them, going crazy, and they're there, cobwebs over them, what the guy really wanted to see was CG the whole time. I'm just showing him the switcher because he needs to understand the central station of the toaster, how it works, the control panel. The next thing you want to do in a basic toaster demo is just cover program and preview. See, you're going to have, let's have 2 live sources coming into all demo toasters. Please. You can get these JVC cameras with Genlock source for real inexpensive. George can get you information on that. And so you can take a camcorder and one of these. Let's get 2 live sources. Let's have one of them pointed at you and one of them pointed at them. Okay, so they can see themselves, know what's happening here. Explain program and preview. And one thing I forgot, keep my notes in here when we're talking about I sort of glossed over the demo system, is that you should explain the demo system. So I have 2 cameras coming into the system. One of them is pointing at you and one of them is pointing at me, so they understand what's happening. And really the ideal system is to have a tape source on it for you, I think. Because they always, if we have 2 live cameras, what you do at show a lot of times, they ask, well, can you put tape into it? They'll ask the obvious things if you don't cover it and show it. So basically explaining, see, I can just punch these buttons and sources change. I can choose which sources I'm doing effectively. That's it. Basic toaster demo. Now, in this quick notes section here, I put down a sort of a cool trick for each slice, which is just sort of a fun demo thing. Particularly somebody who's already kind of familiar with toaster, you want to show them a neat thing. This is the best description I come up with, mixing digital and analog. We came up with this at a trade show about a year ago. Just a really weird thing to do. Punch up a live source on program and preview, go to an organic effect. Now one of them will be going through the digital banks, so it's delayed a 1/15 of a second coming through the toaster, and the other one isn't. It's straight through analog video. And then you do like an organic effect halfway through, and wherever you move in the organic effect area, there's like a delay. It's a real weird looking effect. It's kind of cool. Sorry. Something to play with.
This is a Kiki, I think, showed that.
Yeah, she may have showed that. It's a real fun thing to do. Okay, then I talked about here objections and benefits. So people say, what about pixelation? Now let me cover this just a little bit. I've done a lot of demos for the real hardcore badass customers out there. The magazine editors before we ship toaster, a lot of the press stuff. No, there's one particular demo I'll share with you. I did for an ad agency called Ogilvy and Mather. They're a New York headquarters, zillion-dollar company, thousands of employees, marble building. It says Ogilvy and Mather on it. Coming with my toaster under my arm, going to the main boardroom. 20 people sitting there. They've got AV set up from hell, and just in the boardroom. It's like TV sees everything. Sit down. They got their creative people, and they got people from their own. Oh, I have our own in-house little video facility. What kind of facility? Oh, we have 1-inch and D2, and you know, but we send most of our stuff outside if we want good stuff. So you know, and these are like former network broadcast engineers sitting on this side of the table, and all the creatives over here. People to call the meeting were the creatives. They saw the toaster at a trade show, got all excited, said we could actually create on our desks, get the look of what we want, and still send it out if we want other stuff. But wow, this is a powerful tool, kind of like the Mac lets us do print. This will let us do video right on our desk. So they're going crazy for this thing. Broadcast guys are dragged into the meeting here, see a threat to their facility, see the creative guys trying to tell them what to buy again. But they're all sitting like this. And of course, they're all ready. They read about the toaster. They've gone and looked at it. So starting with the demo, first guy raised his hand. Before I've even gotten the first word out of my mouth. What about the pixelization? Just shrink that down and hold it for me. just click on this one here, shrink it down and hold it. I said, oh, you're talking about pixel averaging. Well, let me just tell you that if you have a machine that prints money, you're not interested in the toaster. Because the number one feature of the toaster is its price. So if you have an unlimited budget, I can't sell you a toaster. Go buy an ADO 100. It's a lovely device. I'll tell you where you can get one. It has pixel averaging like crazy. Pixel averaging is the $20,000 compromise. That's what it would cost to throw something like that into one of these. That's why those machines cost so much. They average those pixels in between. So what we've done is we created all these effects that don't suffer from pixel averaging and compression. You see all those new organic effects and action effects and other things. And you'll find that when you do one of these effects at speed, you don't notice. Now, if you're a trained network broadcast engineer, you can see something funny going on there. My mom can't tell. Okay? And particularly by the time it gets home or on a tape and they're playing it back. So, but that is an artifact of the toaster, and it's there. But let me just explain. That's the $20,000 compromise. Right up front, because I knew that was a big objection with those guys. I just said that, and it was like, what could they say? I just shut them right up. It's like, okay. You know, that's the way it is. That's one of the artifacts of this device. That's why it's $5,000 instead of $50,000. But now, be that as it may, let me show you what else it does that I think you may be interested in. Because that was their big thing. That was the big stopper. So just blow it off. Say, fine. Never do these effects. Now, if you never did these, I can just take them out for you, delete them right off the hard drive. If you never do these, let's look at what else you can do. Okay, so if you have a really gnarly objection like that, it's the way to handle it. Just confront it head on. Yes, they did. Of course. What are you thinking?
Would she have told you the story?
Let me just say one thing about demoing the toaster is, you know, we started doing it at trade shows and stuff. We were like real impressed that, wow, it seems like, you know, 9 out of every 10 people who demo this thing who love it. They fall over the floor in an epileptic seizure. They love it so much. It's incredible. The thing is, that's an artifact of the toaster. It wasn't that we were doing great demos. I mean, it should be 10 out of 10. If you're doing it, I mean, the other guy is the guy that needs your demoing talent. You know, somebody in a coma can do great demos that 9 out of 10 people will love. It's getting that last guy that's the real talent, because the toaster is just an incredible product. And okay, so let's talk about other objections. User-definable effects. Of course, I think we talked about that with Peter and pounded him into the ground on that this morning. But some of the things you can do with the positionable effects, I don't know how much Peter went over with that, but you can really do amazing things that can do positionables in 2.0. That'll handle some of that objection stuff. Speeds. There's the Toaster Toolkit that can let you set up some speeds for effects and things now. And also white patterns. There's some techniques that have been written about in Toaster User and other places where you can use 3 inputs, art card mode, create your own white patterns and things. So you can always talk about those things to handle those objections. But every time you're demoing the toaster, you're going to want to throw in things that are major benefits about the toaster. What sells the toaster over any other product? Well, new effects can be added by software. It's a killer thing. Take a floppy disk like this, plug it in here, and get all new effects. In fact, NewTek came out with an upgrade called 2.0, and they added these other 2 grids of effects and all sorts of other new effects in here, and they're going to be doing more. And easy to use. One thing you want to do in that early switcher demo is let them grab the mouse and just do a dissolve or a wipe. Usually I don't let do digital compression, squeeze it back. You know. They could do some neat organic effect. One thing to tell them when they have their hand is tell them to use the right mouse button. Because if they're not used to operating a mouse, they're going to miss the T-bar. So it doesn't matter if you have the right mouse button, it always grabs the T-bar no matter where you're pointing. And concentrate on organic effects and action effects. Things are totally unique. They've never seen before. You can't get with any other equipment. And then the whole thing about combining effects. It's not just a switcher. It's not just cool effects. I can combine those with Chrome effects. I can combine them with use the CG. It's all things in one. Usually what I end every slice section with. Chrome effects. There's a great article called Really Using Chrome Effects in the latest issue of Video Toaster. The user talks about a lot of cool applications. You should read it. I actually learned some stuff reading the article. This guy's really into Chrome Effects about this. I usually do not spend much time doing Chrome Effects. In fact, in a normal quick demo, I really don't even touch on it. I may bring up one of the effects that's on the main grid, but I don't actually go into the program unless it's something like a music video producer or something. The biggest objection is what good is it? Most people just have no understanding of what Chrome Effects does, with no way to relate it into things. And the benefits are you can use photographic filters, you can do color correction. The one cool thing to do is a sepia tone tint with the old film effect. You get in front of the camera and move around like this. It's a lot of fun. And you should have fun in a toaster demo. It's also a real important thing. Show some wacky, fun things. A toaster is a fun device. It's a cool toy. Beyond everything else, I mean, these people have to use this equipment every day. It'll be nice if they can think of it as something that's fun. Okay, toaster CG. I think most of you probably know how to do all this stuff. You can cover it in the lab. But keep it real basic once again. Create a key page, and during toaster CG, the thing I constantly do, there's not a mouse pointer on the screen. You're operating the function keys. My hand is like this the whole time. So you can see here, I'm just going to hit the F3 key, and they see the little sun go around, Let me just change the centering. I type a line of text in here, and boom, boom, boom. They see it move around. See how easy it is to change the centering? Let me show you how I can change the drop shadow. They see the drop shadow change here. Let me render that out. So I'll do like 9 changes for every time I'll actually render something out. They can see all the things that you can change as you set it up. I'm just pointing with the fingers that are following me. And always they're like, wow, it's so easy to use. And then, of course, keying and doing a digital effect on a CG page is the greatest thing. So I'm showing switcher, CG mixed together.